Hello and welcome. Welcome once again to the Magical Christmas Markets show, where we say it's always Christmas in here. And sometimes you need a little escape. If that's the case, you can always pop into the group and find the most incredibly helpful, knowledgeable people that will help you put together your trip to the Christmas markets. Today, we're with Wendy once again, and I'm so excited to bring Wendy in. We're going to take a deep dive, we thought today, into the Rhine sailings and how you can do that and how to best make that work for you for your Christmas market sailing or any time of the year. And
Mhm,
today, I'm bringing Wendy in because she just returned from the Rhine sailing, which is a bit off season. So it'll be great
mhm.
to hear your your experience during this time of the year. So again, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. How was your trip?
Thank you. It was amazing. I mean, I always say Europe is always a good idea.
Yeah.
Oftentimes people, when they think of Europe, they think of peak season. They think of June, July, August, September. But, really take consideration of shoulder season because it's not as crowded, it's not as hot. And beautiful time of the year is spring. So that was when I traveled. Of course, just the weather sometimes can be a little temperamental, but for the most part, we had a gorgeous sailing and experience on Viking. So I'm going to take a minute and share my screen and we could talk a little bit about all of the experience.
That's great. I did the Rhine as well. I did it in August. The last time I did it was in August. And all I kept saying is, even in the heat of the summer, it felt like Christmas, those beautiful little
Yeah,
villages. And so we could kind of tie it all in together.
we can. I think Viking does such an amazing job. I mean, we've been in the industry for over 28 years, and we sit at the heart of everything it is that you want to experience when you're in the destination. We are known as One Viking because, of course, we cover the globe, all seven continents, five oceans, 21 rivers, five Great Lakes. Over 500 ports of call, rivers, oceans, expeditions, Mississippi, Great Lakes. So it really is something that once you've been on Viking, you have this consistency of the service as well as the experience because all of our ships have the same understated elegance as far as the design. I do like to talk a little bit about the Viking philosophy because, our promise really to you as a guest is really not to strive to be everything to everyone. We focus on English speaking couples and travelers that are curious, that are wanting to adventure, being in the heart of the destination and really interested in history, culture, geography, arts. And so the fact that we are a smaller luxury cruise line, it doesn't feel stuffy or pretentious, but it allows us to go to different iconic cities and quaint towns because we are smaller. So, of course, our itineraries are scheduled to be really destination oriented, and it really brings you into the heart of really what the locals are their true life and day to day. So I love that personally when I visit, I'm traveling.
I love
We
that too. And one of the things that one of the questions I get a lot in the group is, how do I do how do I do it? Do I go by train? Do I go to one particular city and do day
Yeah.
trips? And I always recommend doing a river cruise, especially with Viking. Like you said, you unpack once and you're not schlepping your bags back and forth and figuring out where to go. The whole itinerary is laid out for you, and it really is it's a wonderful way to do it. And what
Absolutely. Good point. And, the whole unpack once concept, you and I have both traveled, and I'm sure some of those listening in have traveled where it is that you needed a vacation after the vacation. And that is not what happens when it is that you're traveling with Viking, because keep in mind, our ships are smaller, especially on river, no more than 190 guests. We have really personalized experiences. We offer a highly inclusive product. So there's no nickel and diming, no kids under age 18, no casinos. And we really strive to be an efficient operator. So we're passing a lot of those savings along to our travelers. It is really not a secret that we hire the best staff in the cruise industry and that we're known not only for our service, but also having the highest retention rate. So when you step onto a Viking ship, you are very much a name, not a number. And I think that adds to the overall difference as well.
I have a funny story. So I did Viking Ocean sailing from Barcelona to Rome last summer, and, uh, w well, a little bit late. I wanna say maybe 2 or 3 months later, there were Viking ships in New York, which is where I am. Wendy's in New Jersey, and I'm in New York, and I was invited to come aboard the ship as a travel industry professional to look at it and to show it to our guests. And I went to the back of the ship, and my bartender came out, and he said, "Sally, would you like a prosecco?" And he remembered me
Love
from
that.
being
Love
on the
that.
ship, and he was actually on another ship that had come into New York and just remembered my name, remembered what I drank. It was and we had such a lovely time chatting with one another. Really, really, that tells you a lot.
They're all so lovely. I mean, our biggest point of difference is that we obsess about our guests and we invite you to be part of our family when you're traveling with Viking. So, this crew is just amazing. They go above and beyond to anticipate your questions and as well as your need, whether it be a prosecco or for me, a rosé. It is really nice to just be able to sit down and have them, come to you and say, "Would you like another glass of rosé?" Why, yes, yes, I would.
So
So
nice.
it is so nice, or whatever, whether it be a coffee and or
Mhm.
a cappuccino. Yeah, so it is great. So I thought what we would do is kind of focus on a couple of our different highlights of different popular cruises. For first time river cruises, of course, we're going to do a little bit deeper of a dive today in the Rhine Getaway, one of my favorites, which is one that I just returned from. This is a beautiful opportunity where it is that you get the experience for castles and cathedrals along the Rhine River. And then you have Romantic Danube, another beautiful itinerary known for its food and wine. Again, an 8-day itinerary, a little bit slower of a pace because you are overnighting in Budapest, Vienna, and Regensburg. And then the Grand European, which really is everything that you would want to see and do when it comes to these European rivers, the Rhine, the Main, and the Danube rivers on this 15-day itinerary. So let's get to it. I do have to say, I fell in love with the Rhine. Now, you can sail in either direction, whether you want to do Amsterdam to Basel or Basel to Amsterdam. This is a beautiful 8-day itinerary. You will see every day you are in a different port. There are 6 guided tours. Now, I know we didn't talk about this as of yet, but you automatically get these included complimentary. And it's a great way for you to have an orientation with a knowledgeable guide around the city set that you're in. So it's usually in the morning or the afternoon. They offer different options and also different paces. So if you wanted something of a little bit slower pace, they offer that as well. And so I just personally loved it because, of course, because you are pulling up into the heart of the destination, you have a lot more leisurely time. So, after the orientation, inclusion of that complimentary excursion, then you get the rest of the day to go about how you please to explore these different beautiful areas that you're traveling through.
That's how I always do it too. I'll take the morning tour so that I get a little bit familiar, and the guides are so great. They give you some history. And then normally there's a bus. They'll tell you, they'll give you a place to meet and maybe 2 or 3 different times during the day that you could go back and Viking will bus you back to the ship. So it's really easy.
Right.
Really
It's
nice.
so nice. So
Yeah.
whether you wanted to stay in town and shop some more, if you wanted to take the bus transportation, which it's a beautiful motor coach. They're all branded with Viking. Did they take you back to the ship? You could have lunch back on the ship and then head back in. Again, you're so close to the destination, so it's all pretty walkable.
You
With
could do a Kolsch tasting and you don't have to drive back.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So we'll talk about the 4 countries that we're going to be traveling through. I personally love Amsterdam. I just think it's so incredibly charming. Do you know how many bridges, Sally, there are in Amsterdam?
I don't. Is there a number? I know there's so many.
Yes, over 1,400 bridges.
Wow, is that right?
In Amsterdam, and the canal stretches over 31 miles. It's a gorgeous city both by day as well as night. And again, because you're docking in the heart of the destination, you get to see that parameter of daylight during the day as well as during the evening. But of course, beautiful. canals that you can cruise upon. Of course, lots of great museums. The Rijksmuseum is there, the Anne Frank House. If you're interested in going to the Anne Frank House, of course, you do want to make sure that you're purchasing those tickets at least 7 weeks prior to your arrival date. That's when they usually will open up. And you can do that directly. But, the food, the fun, the entertainment, of course, the main mode of transportation is bicycles. So it's just a beautiful city and known for a lot of its, history as well as culture.
I love Amsterdam. I started my career in the airlines, and it was the first place I ever went to in Europe. And so
Oh,
it
neat.
definitely holds a place in my heart. And it really is a beautiful city with such nice people and such great history and museums and food and beer.
And a great way, of course, a great way to see this, of course, is those canal cruise. Get those boats that you see there, the open air or the glass dome boats that you see. So that's absolutely one of my favorite ways. Of course, there you can maybe visit Keukenhof Gardens. Of course, during the springtime, this is a beautiful time to be able to see that all of the different arrangements of floral display at its glory. Of course, they plant over 7 million bulbs in this garden. It is one of the largest gardens in all of Europe. It's absolutely spectacular. They actually plant these bulbs by hand with over 30 gardeners, which is pretty spectacular. They do this within a 3-month time frame. And so, if you ever get a chance to go to Amsterdam during this tulip season, it's one of my favorites.
You can actually on your phone now take pictures and they really looks like this. These colors are real and you take a picture on your phone and bring that home and it's amazing. The colors are unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, visiting Germany's fourth largest city, Cologne. Of course, the beautiful Dom that's there is absolutely spectacular. In fact, we offer a shore excursion where we offer the opportunity to experience the Dom. It's a privileged access after hours with up into the spires of the cathedral where you can see, for miles around. And it's just an absolute gorgeous experience. So that's also another highlight on this. Of course, Cologne is known for its beer, Kolsch beer. They have over 21 different varieties of Kolsch. So every pub that you would go into there is really quite interesting how they all have a variety of the different tastes. So, like Sally said, no worry about driving. You could walk your way back to the ship.
Right.
Everything is just it's a gorgeous view. And then what's so spectacular about this area is, of course, the middle Rhine. We oftentimes get the major questions of when is it that we sail? Do we sail during the day? Do we sail during the evening? And I always say it depends. Now, the middle of the Rhine is obviously a time where we're going to sail during the daytime. Gorgeous views of castles along the way. This is really the highlight of the itinerary that you would be able to see all of these gorgeous castles, Marksburg Castle. You have the opportunity to get out by foot and explore. This is one of the remaining castles that survived the war and dated back from the 14th century, which is absolutely spectacular. So, if you get a chance, visit Marksburg Castle while you're there. And then, of course, you've got all of these storybook villages like Strasbourg, France, absolutely adorable with their half timbered homes along the canal. Maybe if time allows, you have the opportunity to take a canal cruise also too in Strasbourg and see more of the sites by water during during that time frame. So again, just it's a great little town, a lot of influence of the Alsatian region of the wine, both France and Germany influences with their architecture. So it's really incredibly fascinating.
It is, and, Strasbourg is a little bit of an island, and so when you're on a Viking sailing and you get brought in and out, you don't have to park, which can be it can be difficult, and I know a lot of people have a hard time if they're renting a car and doing it that way, so that's another reason to do the river cruise. It's easy in and out, and what a great day to spend in Strasbourg.
And the weather that we had, whether it was sailing in the middle of the Rhine and or through any of whether it be France and or Germany, gorgeous, gorgeous weather, sunny with a little bit of a chill in the air. Again, layering your clothing in the morning. Maybe you might be layered up with a light jacket, but by mid afternoon, you were taking that off and you had just a long sleeve shirt on. And of course, Breisach, Germany is probably one of my favorite areas, the Black Forest region, of course, known for its beauty. So many different varieties of different trees that exist here, and just beautiful history, of course, known for its cuckoo clock making. And we do demonstration, we take you to a demonstration, of course. Then we also, they have a cooking class where they teach you how to make the Black Forest cake. That's known for the region. So, and of course, also too known for its beer as well as its history and culture.
That's amazing. And too, along the Rhine, in all of these stops, starting in Basel and ending in Amsterdam, there are Christmas market shops that are open all year long. And so
Mm.
when you mentioned the cuckoo clocks, I know a lot of them have those in festive ways. But I have a video too, if you ever want it, you can find it in the group, of all of the different shops along the Rhine that sell Christmas goods all year long, so they're never
Groups,
closed.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
really, really love
really
it.
incredibly fascinating to the variety that the Christmas markets offer based on the city set that they're, featuring. So, the overall charm and just the ease of being able to step right off the ship, you don't have to worry about tendering.
Right.
You can, if you wanted to return to dinner, you could, or if you wanted to stay in town for more of a local flair. Of
Yeah.
course, I love the brats and the sauerkraut and the festive food that you find through all of these different cities. And of course, the special treats, whether it be the homemade cheese and or the pretzels and or the pastries, of course, and or let's not end with the chocolate because you're ending in Basel,
My
Switzerland. So
goodness.
again, listen, I bought so much chocolate back. It was pitiful. So but, I always say pack back half the amount of clothes, twice the amount of cash whenever it is that you're traveling. One thing it is that I always like to talk about is that we do offer pre and post packages. So whether you're looking to do some pre time or post time, do know that we offer, opportunities for a hotel stay that's completely included within the package and can be added on to the itinerary of the sailing. Those are can be independent and or fully guided. So depending on what your interest is, it's a great opportunity since you're going over there to further explore nearby areas that make sense. So, and one of the things that I did fail to mention, which I didn't put a picture in there, is Kinderdijk. Oh, I love that stop. And
Yeah.
Sally, you've been to, I'm sure, the windmills there.
Yes.
That was so charming. We did a vintage barge experience on Viking, and that was such a cool experience where we got to see not only the incredible windmills, but we got to tour one of the residents because they do still use some of the windmills and they are working. We got to meet with the miller and, of course, learn a little bit about what the common day to day involvement was with running the mill, and it was very fascinating to learn all of the history and, of course, a little bit more about, the hard work that goes in to maintaining those mills.
Yeah, I have been there, and it's absolutely beautiful, and especially, being from New York, and that used to be New Amsterdam, I learned so much about those early workers and how that's still going on today. It's a really interesting excursion. I would definitely recommend that to people to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was my experience. And I'm going to tell you, I thought that I would like the gingerbread in I think, where did we go? The program director recommended a really great shop. And so did also our guide to go and get gingerbread in some of these different destinations. And I thought that I would like it, but actually I fell in love with it. It was I brought back some homemade gingerbread. It doesn't taste like your typical gingerbread that you
No.
here that happens to be, usually hard. This is more soft and dense,
Mhm.
but very flavorful. And they also add different nuts and or fruits depending on what your interest is. And I thought that was really spectacular too.
Yeah, delicious, and not sweet like it is here. It's like
Right.
it's real gingerbread, so
Right. Right.
I agree, so nice, and I loved the Dresden Stalin, which, is Germany, but on one of my Viking sailings, I was able to do an excursion about that as well and learn
Nice.
about they actually have Stalin sommeliers because they're
Oh,
so serious about how they make it and the ingredients, and it's amazing. So that's another itinerary that I would recommend for sure.
so hands down, regardless of the time of year that you're thinking about sailing, the Rhine is just a beautiful type of itinerary. I mean, again, the fact that, we utilize all of the space on on the ship. So you have the aquavit terrace that you can be out there drinking a glass of wine or having a coffee and taking in these gorgeous views. We also have the sun deck that you could go up on the top deck, whether, weather permitting, of course, but we even have undercover that you can still enjoy those views of the castles and along the Rhine. So again, it was really a remarkable sailing, but what makes it so unique is really our crew that just really, again, want to be there to make sure that they are framing your experience and making this so special for you.
Absolutely, and you don't have to lift a finger. I get a lot of questions about what kind of a cabin. So, yeah, I think the time of the year can make a play in that. If you're visiting the Christmas markets and you maybe aren't going to be outside as much, you could do a French balcony.
Mhm,
But like you said, going through the sailing past the castles, if you are able to sit outside on your balcony and have them
mhm.
bring you a bottle of wine, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful day. Or like you said, if you're in a standard cabin, you can go up on the top and you'll be able to sit out there and see all of the scenery as well. So we can
That's
always
right.
discuss that if that's something you want to discuss.
Well, we want to say thank you for joining us. We hope that you found it to be helpful. Of course,
Yes.
all of Sally's contact information is listed on here. We value her as a great partner to Viking, and we appreciate all that she does. It's always important to book with a travel advisor, and Sally is one of the best. So, uh,
Uh,
again, thank you for your time today.
I appreciate that, Wendy. Thank you so much for being with us again today.